acceptable in your sight, O God, our strength and our Redeemer. Please be seated. And good morning. I was reading this passage for the last few weeks knowing I was going to preach, and I kept thinking, how do people who read the Bible literally deal with this? You know, we just went through John, and all of August we listened to John tell us that Jesus is saying, drink my blood, eat my bones. We're like, what? Because Jesus doesn't mean it literally. And here, when Jesus tells us, if your hand causes you to sin, cut it off, thankfully, he does not mean literally. Or I would not be able to be standing here in front of you. What Jesus is telling us, if we will look deeper, if we will think broader, Jesus, the very incarnation of God, God come into human form, uses the human body to challenge us with who we are and how we are. Because it's not a matter of just believing in Jesus, not thinking about doing good, but actually using our bodies in this world to be Jesus. So what is it then? How am I to cut off my hand if I'm not cutting off my hand? My understanding is that if I am working, doing things with my hands that is causing pain to myself or to another, I need to stop. If my feet are taking me somewhere that I don't need to be going, getting into something I don't need to be getting into, I need to stop. If what I am looking at, thinking about, concentrating on is causing me sorrow or causing me to hate, then I need to stop that view. This is what Jesus is calling us to do. We're not going to maim ourselves, but we are going to humble ourselves, which sometimes is just as challenging. When we say, I am for Jesus, I am a Christian, this is who I am in the world, do my actions show it? I don't know about you, but I see a lot of people claiming to be Christians, and I think, really? I don't believe Jesus talked like that. I don't believe Jesus did those things that you are doing when you say that you are following Jesus. That's exactly what we're supposed to do. When Jesus says, follow me, not just with our minds, with our bodies, with our actions. There's a prayer in the big book, the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and a line in this prayer says, relieve me of the bondage of self. This is what Jesus is talking about. Relieve me of the bondage of self. I have gotten myself so bound up in my evil ways that I am no longer living as Christ, and I need to be relieved of it. And how do I do this? I change what I'm doing. I don't have to cut off my feet, but I have to cut off that part of me that is no longer serving Christ. I have to pull out that part of me that is no longer God-like. Is it easy? No. Following Jesus is not easy. But it's the best way to be. Jesus goes on and says, everyone will be salted with fire. What? What are you talking about, Jesus? What do you mean salted with fire? Oh, well, let's look at it. Salt is seasoning. Salt, as you've heard me say before, makes everything better. It enhances the flavor of everything. Put a little salt in. Even the sweet things, you got to put a little salt in to make it better. So if we're going to be salted, we're going to make things better. But why are we going to be salted by fire? Because fire transforms. And when Jesus says everyone will be salted with fire, he is telling us that we are all going to struggle. We're all all going to have hard times. We're all going to go through difficulties. I wish sometimes I could be one of those television preachers telling you, it's all good, life is good. Just pray a little bit and your life will be good. And it's just not true. Your life is good. There are parts of it that are just glorious and wonderful. And there's also a lot of struggle in life. But if we let the struggle transform us, we become better people. Because the fire is either going to consume us or transform us. When gold is purified, it is by fire. And once you fire the gold, the dross, the dirt, the bits that aren't gold fall away, and you have pure gold. But it takes the fire to get there. We will go through challenging times. There is no doubt. Life will be hard. But Jesus tells us that if we allow these hard times to transform us, then we will be able to live fully in his light and in his life. This is what we are called to do. Be at peace one with another. He ends this here because if you remember last week, the disciples were arguing about who's going to be the greatest. I'm going to be the greatest. I'm going to sit next to Jesus. Jesus said that's not what it's about. Don't argue about who's good, who's bad, who's this, who's that. Be at peace with yourselves. Because if we're arguing amongst ourselves, we cannot show the world the love of Christ. And we are called to show the world the love of Christ through what we do, what we say, and who we are. May it be so with us. Amen.